What's going on, YouTube world and all who inhabit it? I'm just here in one of my rooms, about to play some Mad Max and enjoy my long weekend, but I thought before I did, I would try and squeeze this short little review uh, video in for you guys. Um, in this review, we're reviewing the 2015 natural disaster movie San Andreas, starring Dwayne Johnson and Paul Giamatti. Of course, there's other people in the cast, but I didn't care about them as much. And for those of you that don't know, San Andreas, like so many other um, disaster movies that focus on one thing, um, San Andreas focuses on the San Andreas fault line in California that is supposed to give way and cause a massive earthquake that pretty much potentially the entire United States is supposed to feel, more or less. Uh, and my initial reaction to this movie, before I get into the storyline and the good and the bad and all that, uh, my initial reaction to the movie as a whole, I was underwhelmed. And that's not to say that it's a bad movie and you shouldn't see it, because there's a silver lining here. But just like so many other natural disaster movies are, there's so much that goes into them visually, and there's this epic scope that surrounds natural disaster movies, that just wasn't there for me. And I think the reason why is because me personally, um, I think I'm more or less kind of numb or just bored with the natural disaster scenario, because you see movies like Volcano or Twister or Pompeii or Day After Tomorrow or 2012, and nothing really changes. I mean, even the storyline really doesn't change in this movie, um, which I will touch in just a minute. And of course, like I said, there's good and there's bad, and I mean it's what you would expect. There's some definite oh shit moments, as they say, that make you go, oh my god, what just happened, kind of thing. But I think for the amount of hype it had and the amount of anticipation I had to see the movie because of it, I was more or less disappointed. Now the storyline is pretty typical too, and kind of subpar, uh, and very kind of generic, in the sense that The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, even though he doesn't go by The Rock anymore really, he plays a character that is part of the Los Angeles Fire Department, I think. Um, and he's doing his job, and all hell breaks loose, and stuff starts happening. And his main goal, along with his ex-wife, because natural disaster movie storylines is about bringing family together, and they generally have a divorced couple who kind of reunite to save a daughter or some family member, and that's basically what happens. Um, the idea is that Dwayne Johnson and his ex-wife kind of come together again to save their daughter, who is with friends or whatever across the state. So they travel across the state to go get her and make sure everything's okay. And which is pretty typical for disaster movies, I'd say. The movie is centered around three groups. One being uh, Dwayne and his wife, ex-wife. The other one being focused on the daughter and um, her friends and them trying to survive and whatever. And uh, the third and probably, I don't want to say least important, because if you're smart, he's a pretty important character. But Paul Giamatti's group, who plays a scientist, professor person with students trying to tell people, what's going on, what's happening, and what to expect. Which, no one ever really listens until it's too late, because that's generally how these things start, is you have a scientist saying, hey, this is going to happen, watch out, prepare yourselves. No one ever listens, and then all goes to hell. And that's basically what happens in this case, too. But, you know, as to be expected in natural disaster movies, it ends with a happy ending. California is basically ripped apart and destroyed, but FEMA comes in and other organizations come in and clean it up, and they basically start over. So, like I said, it's just it's a decent movie for 2015. Do I think it was overly great? No. And that being said, do I think you should see it? Oh yeah, especially if you like natural disaster movies, because it wasn't god awful. But I went into it with the mistake of thinking that it was going to fall along the lines of this epic scope, like Day After Tomorrow in 2012, and it's not like that at all. At least to me, it wasn't. It didn't stick out like that. So I think if you're going down the list of good natural disaster movies, it's gonna be there. Is it gonna be a benchmark like Day After Tomorrow was in 2012? Or 2004. Sorry. Or is it gonna be like 2012 was in 2009 or whenever that one came out, 2010? I don't know. Is it gonna be like that? Kind of the benchmark of the year, film-wise? I don't think so. It's just a good Dwayne Johnson movie. And I guess the one highlight for me didn't come from the movie itself. I watched it with my 7-year-old cousin, and we live in Minnesota. So she was watching this, and her one comment of the movie was, as all this is going on, she said, "This is scary. If I was them, I would just move back to where I'm from." So that's a natural disaster couch judge, being in the eyes of a 7-year-old. But as a whole, do I think it's worth seeing? Yes, I do. Especially if you like that kind of movie. I mean, they are entertaining, and there's of course a lot visually that goes into them, and it's a good movie. I'll give it that. That's the good part. The bad part is that if you're going to look at it in hopes that it's going to measure up to natural disaster movies that we've seen before, I didn't think it was, so that's a bad for me. Maybe you'll think it's great. I mean, like I always say in my reviews, my opinions are only opinions. And you might have a different one. What I say might not matter to you, and I don't think it matters in the broad scope of things either. But this is just to give you an idea and kind of a warning that if you're expecting something great and epic and fantastic with natural disaster movies that we've seen before, I think you're going to be disappointed. And that might kind of change your opinion of the movie, maybe. Now, you might think it's as good as those ones, but I did not. But, at the end of the day, again, would I see it? Definitely. I think it's one of the better movies, and I haven't seen a lot of movies this year, but it's definitely one of the better movies of this year. So, check it out. Keep an open mind. I think the one thing that it's showed me was to stay out of California. But yeah, keep an open mind. I think you'll enjoy it either way you look at it. Um, and yeah, that's my review and that's my conclusion of San Andreas. So until next time, guys. Bye.